Hello everyone, Rapunzel here. Today we're going to talk about Michelangelo and we're going to paint. But before we do that, I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do it. Michelangelo painted at a lot of different angles to create one of his most famous works, the Sistine Chapel ceiling. We're going to be painting kind of like that today. We'll be painting lying down. It's going to be so much fun. I'll walk you through it. Here's what you need. A piece of paper, tape, a paper plate to mix paint on, paint brushes of different sizes, paint, and the underside of a table. This is the Sistine Chapel ceiling. We're going to paint upside down just like Michelangelo did. I already drew the picture that I'm going to paint and I taped it up to the underside of the table. I'm filling in the paper with my blue paint for the sky right here, and I'm making a picture of me and Eugene, and we are at my old tower. With this particular kind of painting, it's really important to have different sized brushes for different areas of the painting. If there is a really small area that you need to paint, you want to have a small brush, right? Of course you do. If there is a big area of your painting that you need to fill in, you should use a big brush. That way, it'll go faster. I'm painting a picture of Eugene and I at my old tower, but you can paint whatever you would like. Are you going to paint a self-portrait of yourself? Maybe you're going to paint a picture of your dog or your cat. The options are endless. Michelangelo painted himself into one of the paintings on the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Are you going to paint yourself into your painting here today? That's what I did. Since we are painting upside down and under a table, it's very important to remember not to put too much paint on your brush. You don't want it to drip down and get all over your clothes or anything. That wouldn't be fun. Michelangelo was known for being a painter and a sculptor, but he was actually a poet too. He wrote over 300 poems, some of which exist today. Michelangelo got his start by copying an ancient Roman sculpture called Sleeping Cupid. He buried it in the ground when he was all done with it, waited a couple of days, dug it back up, and it looked completely ancient. He passed it off as his own work. Then it was sold to a man named Cardinal Riario. But Cardinal Riario, he knew exactly what Michelangelo was doing. He was so impressed with the copying that he actually invited Michelangelo to his city. Cardinal Riario of San Giorgio invited Michelangelo for a meeting because he was so impressed by his copying skills. At that point, Michelangelo stayed in Rome, and he stayed there for the next several years. Michelangelo actually wasn't the first person who was hired to paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Raphael, who was a very famous painter at the time, was hired first. But Raphael wanted to see if Michelangelo could actually accomplish painting the whole thing. So Michelangelo took his challenge, and today more than 25,000 people view the chapel ceiling every single day. I think Michelangelo would have been pretty happy with that. Michelangelo lived to be 89 years old, and he continued to work up until the week of his death. That's an awfully long time to be working. While you're painting, remember to have fun and just be creative. It doesn't matter what your painting looks like. Michelangelo was never very happy with his works. Once, he wrote about painting the Sistine Chapel, and he famously said, "I am not a painter." Well, I think everyone is a painter because all it takes is a brush and some paint and some paper, and all you have to do is start painting. When Michelangelo was sculpting, he mostly used marble and has some very famous sculptures, including Pietà, which means pity or compassion, and the David. When you're painting while lying down, it might get a little hard to reach the underside of the table. So try painting from different angles. Maybe you can paint while you're up on your elbows, or maybe you can switch your body around so that you're painting the picture upside down. Michelangelo wasn't lying down the whole time that he painted the Sistine Chapel. There were some times when he was standing up and painting above him, or kneeling and painting above him. You can try out those ways too. With this kind of painting, it's really fun to mix the different paints on your paint palette to get a lot of different colors. I didn't have any brown paint, so I mixed red and black and orange together to make brown. If you want one of your colors to be a little bit darker, just mix in a little bit of black. If you want a color to be a little bit lighter, just use a little bit of white. I wonder what would happen if you mixed all of your colors together. What kind of color do you think that would make? One of the most famous parts of the Sistine Chapel painting is God reaching for Adam, and their hands are reaching out towards each other, just as though they are trying to hold each other's hands. And that's something that I wanted to show in my painting too. So I have Eugene and me reaching for each other's hands. Michelangelo didn't get along very well with another artist of his time, Leonardo da Vinci. They had a lot of different arguments, just like Eugene and Maximus had a lot of different arguments too. But you know what? Eugene and Maximus, they decided to be friends, and I think that Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, I think that they probably started to be friends after a while too. You might know the name Michelangelo from some famous superheroes, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. All 4 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were named after famous artists: Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo. I finished off my painting by outlining everything with a black felt tip pen. I had so much fun learning how to paint upside down and learning all about Michelangelo today. Now, I've already set out my painting to dry. We're going to clean up all of our brushes so they're all clean and have no paint on them. We're going to put our paints away, and we will recycle the paper plate that we used to mix colors. And that's all that we need to do. I'll see you next time when we learn about a different artist next week. Bye, everybody.